All right, folks. Trump's press secretary Karoline Leavitt just wrapped up a tense White House press briefing, and there's a lot to unpack. During the exchange, she confirmed that Trump is moving forward with his plan to deploy the military to Portland, Oregon, while also looking at ways to slash federal support for the city. At one point, even a Fox News reporter challenged her on Trump's misleading statements tied to Project 2025. And throughout the briefing, she grew noticeably frustrated when pressed with direct and reasonable questions. We're going to break this down step by step, but before we dive in, if you find this video useful and want to support the channel, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Now let's roll the first clip, and this one is particularly troubling.
President Trump will end the radical left's reign of terror in Portland once and for all. The president has directed Secretary Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other left-wing domestic terrorists.
Portland, Oregon is not under siege. Absolutely no evidence to support it. And why this is particularly ominous isn't just the lie, but also what Trump previously said just about a week ago when he first indicated this threat. We did a video about it. He said, "At the request of Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, I am directing Secretary of War Defense Pete Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and to any of our ICE facilities under siege by attack from or from attack by Antifa." Again, so basically repeating all this word for word and other domestic terrorists. And then this is the key part. I'm also authorizing full force if necessary. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, this is nothing short of a kill order. Donald Trump issuing a kill order saying, hey, U.S. military, not only can you violate federal law by going in and engaging in domestic law enforcement, which violates the Posey-Camadas Act, I'm also authorizing you to engage in deadly force, lethal force against American citizens. That's incredibly dangerous and a major escalation and, of course, a major demonstration of Trump's authoritarianism. Here's another clip.
Just last night, we saw an extremely troubling incident where conservative journalist Nick Sorter was captured on video being taken into custody by the Portland police after he was ambushed by Antifa and was defending himself from these assaults. But instead of arresting these violent mob members night after night after night who are ravaging this community, the police arrested a journalist who was there trying to document the chaos, and everyone in this room should be extremely concerned about that. The Department of Justice spoke with that journalist this morning, and they will be launching a full investigation into his arrest. This incident is part of a troubling trend in Portland where left-wing mobs believe they get to decide who can visit and live in their city. It is not their city. It is the American people's city, and President Trump is going to restore that. I just spoke with the president about this, and he has directed his team here at the White House to begin reviewing aid that can potentially be cut in Portland. We will not fund states that allow anarchy. There will also be an additional surge of federal resources to Portland immediately, including enhanced CBP and ICE resources. Law and order will prevail, and President Trump will make sure of it. With that, I'll take...
We're still waiting for more information about the reported arrest of Nick Sorter. And at this point, there's no publicly available video evidence backing up the account that Karoline Leavitt put forward. She's presenting one narrative, while the Justice Department has confirmed it's investigating the situation. The irony here is hard to miss. This same administration has repeatedly faced accusations of sending unidentified federal agents into cities, masked, without proper identification, and using unmarked vans to detain people. We've seen that play out before, yet now they're turning around and pointing the finger at Portland police. On top of that, the administration is threatening to pull federal support from Portland, a move that wouldn't just hit city officials, but also everyday residents, including Republicans and Trump supporters who live there. That's a textbook case of political overreach and abuse of power. Let's go to the next clip.
How would this administration define what makes a Democrat agency, which agencies, and what constitutes being a Democrat agency?
I think this administration has been very clear, Kelly, that we're not going to tolerate waste, fraud, and abuse in our government. And we've also been very clear to point out when agencies or when programs do not align with this administration's values of putting our country first. You've seen that with USAID and in various other cases where there's been cuts made or funding has been slashed. And so, again, unfortunately, we're having to do a massive review of the bureaucracy to be good stewards of the American taxpayer dollar. And it's the Democrats who have forced the White House and the president into this position by voting to shut the government down.
The truth is, Trump needs Democratic votes to keep the government open, but he's refusing to negotiate in good faith, and that failure is on him. It's worth noting that Trump once said about Obama that a shutdown is always the president's responsibility, since it's the president's job to bring people together. Now, he's in that very position, and the same standard applies. Democrats aren't pushing extreme demands. They're fighting for broadly supported measures like protecting health care, keeping the ACA, preserving subsidies, and preventing Medicaid cuts, policies many Republicans also back. Meanwhile, Trump's attempts to roll them back go against public opinion, showing this is less about policy disputes and more about failed leadership. With that, let's move to the next clip.
Thank you, Karoline. During the campaign...
Thank you, Peter.
I was raised to say thank you in the White House briefing room. During the campaign, President Trump said that he did not know anything about Project 2025. Now he knows about it. Is that the blueprint for shrinking the government?
Look, the blueprint is what the president and his team and his cabinet secretaries ultimately decide. And the president trusts his cabinet secretaries to identify where there is waste, fraud, and abuse. We pointed out this morning, or Russ Vought tweeted about this morning, a Chicago rail project that was canceled. We paused $2.1 billion in Chicago infrastructure projects, specifically the Red Line extension and the red and purple modernization projects. And it's because the administration is concerned that the Biden administration was handing out taxpayer dollars to pay for this construction based on DEI. DOT is reviewing the race-based contracting on unconstitutional grounds, and in the meantime, the Department of Transportation funds for these projects are on hold. So I guess this answers both of your questions. This would be an example of that.
And just
As we covered in an earlier video, Donald Trump initially denied any connection to Project 2025 during the 2024 campaign, claiming he didn't know anything about it, even though plenty of evidence pointed to the opposite. Eventually, he admitted he was well aware of it, and even emphasized that one of its main architects, Russ Vought, is now leading efforts to dismantle and reshape federal agencies and programs. That admission essentially confirmed what many suspected. Trump's denial wasn't true. And the real reason may be that Project 2025 is extremely unpopular with the public. That's why even Fox News reporters are pressing the administration on just how much this agenda is driving current policy. And according to independent trackers, nearly half, about 48%, of Project 2025's proposals have already been implemented in just the first 9 months of this administration. That's a staggering and troubling number. Let's get into the next clip.
because there's so much shutdown talk, something different. What do you guys think about the NFL's decision to name Bad Bunny as the Super Bowl halftime performer, somebody who has not scheduled shows in the U.S. because he says that he's worried that ICE is going to come and arrest his fans?
Well, look, I know there are many in this room who are very anxious to hear the president's response to Bad Bunny being the halftime show, so I won't get ahead of him. I won't reveal what he feels about this. Next time you all ask him a question, you're welcome to do that. I have my own feelings on that, but that's not what I'm up here to talk about. As far as ICE being at the Super Bowl, as far as I'm aware, there's no tangible plan for that in store right now. However, of course, this administration is always going to arrest and deport illegal immigrants when we find them. If they are criminals, we're going to do the right thing by our country.
Bad Bunny one of the biggest reggaeton stars in the world, has officially been announced as a Super Bowl performer. I think he's appeared in a halftime show before in some capacity, though I'll admit I'm not exactly a football expert. Still, the announcement has stirred up outrage in certain right-wing circles. Megyn Kelly even suggested his performance is some kind of message aimed at conservatives. Honestly, I don't see it that way, unless the issue is simply with who he is. Either way, the backlash feels exaggerated. Bad Bunny's global popularity is undeniable, and no amount of outrage is going to change that. With that said, let's roll the next clip.
Karoline, has the president declared war on international drug cartels? And if so, or if he will, does he feel he needs congressional approval?
As the White House has said many times, the president has directed these actions, these strikes against Venezuelan drug cartels and these boats, consistent with his responsibility to protect the United States interests abroad and in furtherance of the U.S. national security and foreign policy interests. This is pursuant to his constitutional authority as commander-in-chief and the chief executive to conduct foreign relations. In each of these cases, Michael, the vessels have been assessed by the U.S. intelligence community to be affiliated with designated terrorist organizations engaged at the time in trafficking illicit drugs to our country. The president has been very clear, dating back to the campaign trail, that he is always going to do what's in the best interest of the American homeland, and he also promised the American people he was going to end the drug epidemic that has taken far too many American lives, and you're seeing those actions play out almost every single day here.
One last question on the shutdown.
She's not really denying anything here. She's just noting that federal law has long prohibited undocumented immigrants from receiving Medicaid or Obamacare benefits. That's been the case for decades, and there's no evidence Democrats are trying to repeal those restrictions. In other words, the claim simply isn't true. It's a recycled talking point that doesn't survive basic fact-checking. Karoline Leavitt's response came off weak and defensive in the face of a fair question. That wraps up this press briefing, as the shutdown drags on and Trump's poll numbers continue to slide. Thanks for watching, and if you stuck around at the end, you can drop the blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I will see you soon.